All right, good day, everyone. Doug here with the LincolnList.com. This is the stock market weekly review for the 2nd of August. It is a new month and time for some new beginnings. I hope everything went well with you throughout the month of July. It was a great month for us. Only one losing day and over $21,000 in gains. So if you're looking to build consistency and take your trading to the next level, visit the LincolnList.com and take the 14-day free trial. Do not take my word for it. Take the trial. See the trades for yourself live in real time. Learn from it. You will see it. You will learn why these setups work. You will learn how they work. You will learn how to manage your money. That will give you the confidence to help take your game to a completely different level, the LincolnList.com. We'll pick up kind of where we leave off here every week. We'll talk a little bit about the SPY. And I don't really have a lot to say about it that I haven't already said. Until we start working our way underneath a 204, will I become, bearish overall, and maybe we see another breakout above 213? You're really stuck in that range, and we've been in that range pretty much for the whole entire portion of this year. But as I said with the last couple of these watch lists and views, we spend most of the time towards the upper 210s to 11 areas than we have down here. It seems that once the market approaches that level, there's always something that comes by, or the dip buyers come in, and it seems to just kind of pick itself up. What we are seeing, though, here that's different than maybe what we have seen in the last couple of years is we're now holding a very tight range for an extended period of time. There was that long period pretty much from 2013 all the way up until the beginning of this year that you were just grinding. I was just continual grind, dip buyers everywhere. It seems like the market's in this longer term consolidation period at some point. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen this week. Maybe it doesn't even happen this year. Who knows? But at some point, you can see where I still have the lines here. One of these levels will get taken out, and then we'll just see what happens. Until that time, you have to play the individual stocks based on what the individual stocks are looking, because a lot of traders will fixate a little too much on the overall market conditions. A lot of times they'll see a breakout or a really nice looking stock, a great setup, and they won't take that setup because they'll look at the market and say, hey, the market's diving right now, I better not take this. You got to look at the individual stock. If people are playing the stock, the momentum's in the stock, trust the stock. If it wants to go up, it's going to go up regardless of what the market wants to do. So kind of keep that in mind. So let's take a look at some of those stocks that might play out pretty good. I think the first thing we got to take a look at here is WBAI. Pretty big move on some news. And this stock has ran before, but there's a little bit of skepticism around this news here, about their licensing and everything. I prefer really not to involve my biases with that. And again, what I mentioned to you just a second ago is trade the chart. Look at the chart. As much as it may sound ridiculous and irrelevant, the news drives a stock like this. You can see the volume in the chart. You can see the price. You can see the action. It tells you it wants higher. Whether it's supposed to be, whether it makes any sense or not, that has nothing to do with stock trading. That means nothing. What matters is what you're looking at. And to me, that's why I like technical analysis and looking at charts so much. Some may disagree, but for me, that's what I like, is because you can see what's real. You can see it right in front of you. We're going to see how this thing works out Monday. I mean, it's just a regular, nice little breakout stock, but I think you might see, an opportunity. There's going to be an opportunity here one way or the other. There's either going to be a nice little follow through on a stock like this, or you're going to have a really, really sweet short. I would probably caution against going short very, very early. I mean, there's always the chances you gap up, gap down. I would say if we gapped up and began the day with a very large gap up, you got a $4.71 move here. If you begin the day with a $2 or more, or very close to $2 gap up, I would kind of focus on shorting that gap up and playing the fade. If it were to gap down, or the beginning move was a flush move into maybe, say, the VWAP or a couple of these lower moving averages, let's say down towards the 22, somewhere there, I would look to maybe bounce that, depending on the size of that flush. If it was something that wasn't just like a grind downwards, like a meltdown, if it was just a really strong flush, then I would consider it. So I'm going to keep it open here with WBAI. I don't know, necessarily. I'm not going to try to predict, the news and say, hey, it doesn't make any sense to me. The thing shouldn't be here. It is here. We'll trade accordingly. We'll let the market decide what it wants to do with it. But I think, I know you're going to have a trade here. It just depends on how it opens and the way it reacts. But you got a very big move on this. Some good volume, especially late into the session. Let's watch this one going into Monday. Also want to take a look at KITE. Now, Kite, I'm a little bit more clean cut here with it as far as I'm pretty bullish on this now. You got a nice little flag working here. You broke the trend line flag here today. You had a really nice open. It would have bode a little bit better for Kite if it would have held up a little tighter up here towards the 73s rather than dip so deep down into the 71s. We have seen some strange volume, or not strange volume, but some strange price pulls like that lately. So like you can never tell from 1 minute to the next where a stock's going to end up. You know, in the beginning of the morning, it looked like this thing was bullish. It was flagging. It was looking like it was a double top breakout, and then it just drifts down about a buck and a quarter. So I like this one bullish based on the dailies chart. You got the earnings coming up with a lot of these players. You know, you're going through earnings season, so there's a chance that they run prior to earnings. I certainly wouldn't hold through that. But looking at some day trades, I think if you start, you know, maybe defining a couple of levels early, like this 71.96, and most importantly, this 71.30. You know, if this thing begins the day in the red or slightly gap down within this area, and manages within the first 15 to 20 minutes of the trading session to hold that, then I would think you're going to get a little bounce off of that level or any kind of consolidation and then a move above 73.22. Where I wouldn't want to be with this if it just opens up the day up here, then that's just, I'm not interested in that. You've already, you know, when you're buying into gap ups in the first place, that's a very difficult thing to make work for you. Yes, you might get away with a few of those in time, but over time when you do a lot of those, that's just never going to be a consistently winning formula for you because a lot of these will just tap out then and fade. So if it gaps up too much, then I may be interested in a short, but I'm kind of looking at this one maybe from a long view to see what kind of setup we get. Same with RDUS, you know, the same kind of setup here. This one was something we talked about last week, especially coming through the daily where you're breaking out here. We had some nice trades on this one and a really, really nice late day ramp here. When you get these late day ramp ups or really late day strength, I'm very cautious about buying those in the morning. Just like I mentioned with Kite, you know, if they start running in the morning, usually when they'll run, they'll put in 1 to 2 bars and then retrace, or they gap up, or they run them pre-market and then they retrace. So it's very difficult, you know, once a stock closes so strong, if it gaps or it moves really strong in the morning, it's hard for you to initiate your initial position then. At that time, you've already missed a bulk of the run and you're just taking on a lot of risk. So kind of look for what we talked about in Kite. Look for a couple of pullbacks. You know, you get them. If you're patient, you know, no matter what people want to think, very rarely do stocks offer you some sort of pullback or some sort of area to get in at a better price rather than chasing. Today you got some pullbacks in this. You got a pullback here. You don't have to chase it. That's what causes a lot of problems. But look down here, maybe 77, 74s, maybe a little push, maybe a little, you know, red to green test or something like that. Look for a little pull in this. I wouldn't take it just right here. That doesn't mean it wouldn't work because I wouldn't take it. But I'd look for a nice little pullback. Maybe we see a nice little run somewhere between 81s and 82s before this earnings, and maybe even back up to the 83.60 high. Look like this thing's ready to perk back up again. Just more question here about getting the right kind of entry for a nice little day trade on RDUS. And I'm going to throw in this little MD, doing some scans. This is a nice looking chart. Really good looking ramp up, something I'm very, very interested in shorting. Now, they've already come out of earnings. You got an 88 RSI here on the daily. That's pretty sweet. You got a nice couple of greens and a good looking breakout. Now, maybe what you saw on Friday was a little bit of exhaustion into that move. You know, you got a really strong chart here. So let's kind of look. You know, for like the rest of them here, if you were able or were fortunate enough, I say fortunate, but maybe it would turn out to be a nightmare. I think if we could gap up or really have one more push early on Monday morning, this would be my number one short play. You'd probably get an RSI very close to 90, which is a sweet spot. You'd be, maybe you can work around a whole number of 86, 87. I think that would be a great, for a day trade, I think that would be a great opportunity to capitalize on a nice price shift here on MD. So keep this one up as a good looking chart, something that demands your attention, I think, this week. So, you know, kind of in a review, we're going to look at WBAI, KITE, RDUS, and MD. But you know what? One of the things that I know about trading is that you end up trading a lot more than what you see in the watch list or the stuff you prepare, because that's one of the beauties about the market is when you get up, you have no idea. Maybe none of these plays work. I mean, but there's going to be something. You know, the day sort of plays out in a certain way. There's going to be stocks that are going to be hot. There's going to be PRs that are issued. There's going to be news stories. There's going to be earnings hits and misses. There's going to be all kinds of elements that come in. And one of the things that you have to develop as a trader outside of just a, because a lot of people say you just got to plan. Yeah, you do have to plan, but you also have to be flexible with some of the plans that you have in place. You have to be able to think quickly. You have to be able to sniff out some of these news stories and other these items here and make very, very quick decisions. And you need to know when you're right on those decisions, and you need to know when you're wrong. I mean, you ultimately do know when you're right or wrong, but sometimes, when I'm talking about when you're wrong, you let yourself get really, really wrong, and, you lose a lot of money. That's what you don't want to do. So, like, if you're really looking to build the right kind of trading business, as I said in the beginning, take the 14-day free trial to the Lincoln List. See how we trade. See every trade made live in real time. No chat, not typing, not speculate and say, hey, I'm in a couple of shares here and there. No, you're going to see it. You're going to see how many shares. You're going to see the entry. You're going to know why the entry was made on the stock. You're going to know where the exit is. You're going to know where the stop is. All of that stuff before you even push the button. That way you know exactly why we're in this stock. To me, that's what's going to make you excel. Other than that, take care of yourself. Thanks for watching this video. Talk to you soon.